Welcome to Law Excellence Hindu News Analysis. Today we are going to cover these topics that are appeared in the Hindu newspaper. Now coming to the first article. Now this article is saying that the place of charity in an unequal society. Now first of all, why this article is relevant? Now this article is talking about the inequality present in the society and charity. Now these type of articles are relevant especially from the questions of SI and GS paper 4. Now if you see previous year question of SI, it has been asked that a society that has more justice is a society that needs less charity. So as this article is also talking about the charity and justice, hence this article can be relevant from the examination perspective. Okay. Now, what is the argument of this author? See, the author is saying that we often consider people who are donating a lot of money are very good and that society is a very equal society and compassionate society. But we should not consider that way. That is what the author is saying. The author is saying that if at all there is a charity in a society, we have to consider that society as unequal society. First of all, why? Because some certain people are accumulating a lot of wealth, concentration of lot of wealth. For example, in this article, he mentioned that Warren Buffett, a billionaire, donated around $51 billion to various charities. Now, this author is saying that it is commendable to donate such an amount of wealth. But the author is also saying that, first of all, what is the social process or what is the process that lead to accumulation of lot of wealth? It is because of the state's inability to create equal opportunities that lead to concentration of wealth with few individuals. Now, this is what the article is saying. But people like Warren Buffett is saying that certain people are very lucky that they have all the opportunities. Hence, they have a lot of wealth. Now, when they die, the fortunate of these lucky people should be used for the welfare of less fortunate people. Now, this is what Warren Buffett called as like egalitarianism, right? The fortunate people should use their wealth towards the less fortunate people. Now, this is what Warren Buffett is saying. But the author is saying that the question is not about luck because luck doesn't determine the inequality or equality present in the society. Luck does not create the opportunities, right? It is a responsibility of the state to ensure that everyone has equal opportunities. Now, this is what author is saying. Author is also saying that if we think of luck, this creates fatalism because people cannot sit idle by just thinking of luck and by just thinking that someone will donate charity towards them. Now, this creates dependency, less motivation towards work, and things like that. Okay. Now, this article author also mentioned about certain examples. Now, in this example, the author is saying that people like Jeff Bezos, become rich. It's because of the monopoly that they are engaged or entertained. It is being said that people like Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos enjoyed market monopoly during their time, because of which they become super rich. On the counter argument, it has been said that people like Warren Buffett are saying that it is because of luck, because Warren Buffett said that I was born as a white American male. White American male. Now, why he said that? Because it has been said that in a society, especially in American society, it has been that there are less opportunities for female, Afro Americans, and citizens of other countries and things like that. And not only that, during his time, he said that America as a country is developing rapidly. Hence, there is rapid appreciation in the stocks that he had, and that's why he is saying that there is luck. But the author is saying that it is because of the state's policies, especially neoliberal policies, favoring certain individuals who are, who are getting market monopoly. That is what lead to inequality. The author also mentioned that in countries like even India also, after taking these LPG reforms, there is a rapid economic growth, but still it doesn't lead to trickle down effect, right? Because there are a lot of people who are poor, there are a lot of people who are just living below poverty line. Hence, the author is saying we need to focus on creating equal opportunities rather than equal outcomes. Because if you focus on too much of charity, it doesn't lead to end. Because, for example, let's say in a class there are 10 students. Just because of we are advocating equality, we cannot give equal marks to all the 10 students. We should ensure that equal opportunity. That is, every student of these 10 students should get equal materials, quality guidance, coaching, and things like that. Now, based on their ability, they will get whatever they want. Likewise, in a society also, people also should need to give equal opportunities so that based on their ability, they will get what they want. So, we should not overemphasize on the charity because this lead to the dependency culture. We need to address that this inequality because inequality is a structural deficiency. It is because of the political policies policies of the state that leads to inequality. Yes, it is commendable that certain private individuals may do charity, but at the end of the day, it is the state's policies to ensure the equal opportunity. Now, this is what mentioned in this article. Now, you can use this argument of against the charity and examples of billionaires like Warren Buffett, Jeff Bezos, and things like that in your essay. Okay, this gives you a new dimension also, and use the keywords like egalitarianism given by the this Warren Buffett and things like that. Okay, now we'll move to the next article. Now, this article is saying that death by water. Now, water as a topic is a very much a recurring theme in the UPSC examination. If you see previous year prelims or mains question, water as a theme is been asking every year, right? Even if you see just this mains PYQ question, it is being asked that India is well endowed with fresh water resources, but critically examine why India still suffers from the water scarcity. Now, this is what the previous year question. Now, by this you can understand that the importance of water as a theme. Now, what is the context of the news? Now, in this article, it is mentioned that recently in Chennai, around 34 people are hospitalized because of complaints of diarrhea. It is because of the contamination of drinking water. Now, the minister in Tamil Nadu is being said that it is not only about contamination of water, it is also because of not maintaining proper hygiene in their surroundings. Now, certain people are saying that these type of comments are insensitive and irresponsible. Other than this Chennai incident, there are other cities also where it has been reported that the pipe drinking water that are being, providing from the government as a public service are being contaminated. And there are issues of similar contamination being reported in the cities like Bengaluru, Kochi, Noida, Vijayanagaram areas of Andhra Pradesh, such like areas. Now, in this article, it is mentioned certain data that you can use in the examination, especially mains examination. Now, it is clearly mentioned in this article that around 230 districts of 25 states are suffering from the issues of arsenic pollution. Right, around 469 districts of 27 states are suffering from the fluoride pollution in the groundwater. Right. Now, this is very much linking to this article. Now, this previous year question also. Previous year question is also saying that India has a lot of good freshwater resources, but still suffers from water scarcity is because of we have a lot of water resources. That is, availability is there, but not quality drinking water. Drinkability is very less because of lot of pollution happening like this, groundwater pollution. Right now, this is what they mentioned in this article. Even Tamil Nadu, before coming to the government in its election manifesto, it is being said that it promised the increasing availability of per capita drinking water, increasing availability of recycled water, quality supplies of safe drinking water. Right, hence it is going against the promises that they have given. This is what mentioned in this article. You can use this data in your mains examination, but before that, we will understand certain reasons for water scarcity in India, especially a country like India. Now, first and foremost thing, it is because of unsustainable agriculture practices. 90% of the groundwater in India is being used for the agricultural irrigation, right? Now, not only that, in India, irrigation is mainly done by the flood irrigation. Flood irrigation, right? So, against this, we are, talking about micro irrigation, right? Likewise, another important reason can be increasing demand. Why increasing demand? You know that India is the most populous country. Not only that, India is rapidly urbanizing. Hence, there is increasing pressure on the land also. Hence, because of which increasing urbanizing lead to concretization. Not only that, this lead to encroachment of wetlands. Hence, there is a less chance of storing of groundwater. Right? There is less chance of permeability of water into the ground, less recharge. Right? Now, because of which all this lead to a lot of pollution of groundwater. Not only that, even in the agriculture also, we often talking about the leaching of nitrate. Right, this leaching of nitrate pollution often lead to blue baby syndrome. Right, things like that are happening. So all these can be issues. And now another important thing is that less rainwater harvest. Now it is being said that only 8% or 8 to 10% of rainwater is harvested in India. Now, all these are the challenges regarding water, that there is a lot of water is available in India from various resources. It can be monsoon resources, it can be groundwater resources, it can be perennial rivers also. We have plenty of rivers. Now rivers are being polluted because of the industrial waste. Now recent and lakes are also polluted because of the release of untreated waste. For example, recently we are talking about Astamodi Lake in Kerala. Pollution of Astamodi Lake and things like that. Yamuna River, that how polluted it is. And groundwater is polluted because of the arsenic and because of over exploitation. Now all these are the reasons for the less water availability, especially less quality water availability, right? Now, because of which government is talking about micro irrigation, right? Water efficient crops, climate resilient crops, resilient crops, and for groundwater, we are talking about Atal Bhujal Yojana, right? For rainwater harvesting, we are talking about this Jal Jeevan Mission, pipe drinking water. Government has a target of providing everyone pipe drinking water, right? This pipe drinking water should also be quality of nature. Otherwise there is a diseases like diarrhea will come and lead to deaths, lot of deaths. Now, this is what mentioned in this article, okay? Now, these are the things you have to know from the mains examination perspective. You can use these points in your mains examination, okay? Now, at the end, you can use point like conclusion, like you can say that it is not about the scarcity of water, it is because of the scarcity of management of water, because of which there is less availability of water or water scarcity in India. Now, this is what the thing you have to see. It is not because of scarcity of water, it is because of the scarcity of management of water, okay? Now we will move to the next article. Now this article is saying that center to set up anti-drone unit to secure border with Pakistan, says Amit Shah. Now what is the context of the news? The context of the news is recently on the occasion of 60th Foundation Day of Border Security Force, a speech is given by the Amit Shah. In this speech, he highlighted that there is a need to set up of establishing an anti-drone unit. Why? Now it has been said that recently militants, especially terrorists, using technology such as drones. Now, why they are using either to carry weapons such as arms, ammunitions, drugs, or communication related activities. Okay. Now these are the things. Now this type of menace will be growing in the future. So we need to detect and neutralize use of drones, the cross-border terrorism. Now, this is what the article is mentioning. Now, certain data mentioned in this article you can use in the examination. Now, first of all, this article is important from the examination perspective, especially GS paper 3 internal security perspective, right? Now, if you see this previous year question, border management is repeated year after year, right? Now, border management is a complex task due to difficult terrain and hostile relations with some countries. Elucidate the challenges and strategies for effective border management. Now, this is what the PYQ. Now, in this context, here asking at strategies for effective border management and challenges. You can say the challenges that the technology is intensively used, such as drones, for crossing the borders or infiltrating the borders. Like that, you can say. Now, in the strategies, you can say that anti-drone unit, which is mentioned in this article, right? Now, another important thing to change the narrative of the people to improve the standards of the people living in the border areas. This article also mentioned, especially mentioned by the Amit Shah, by highlighting that Prime Minister's vision, especially regarding border security and improving the living standards of the people, is very much appreciable. In which he also mentioned about a vibrant village program, especially regarding the northern borders. So you can use this vibrant village program as a strategy for effective border management, especially to improve the living standards of the people. As an example in this here, okay. Now this is what the mentioned. Now government. The starting also mentioned about the whole of government approach. Now this is the keyword, right? You don't just read the news so that use certain keywords that are mentioned in the news in your examination also. This article mentioned a keyword called whole of government approach, right? What is meant by whole of government approach? It means that integrating every stakeholder. Stakeholders include research organizations, DRDO, defense forces, governments, local people, to counter the issues like this and proper and effective management of border areas. Now, these are the things that are mentioned in this article, right? Okay, now from the examination perspective, we will see certain challenges and initiatives taken regarding the border management in India. Okay, now this article is mentioned that in 2024 itself, around 260 drones were gunned down. Most of them are in the areas of Rajasthan and Jammu, carrying arms and things like that. So challenges like this are there. So other challenges can be border disputes, such as with China, we have issues in the Aksai, okay, and in Nepal also we have border issues. For that to not to advance the borders, especially by the armed forces of both the regions, we need border management properly. As an important thing is difficult and diverse terrain. See, we have mountains, we have cold deserts, we have fertile areas, and everything is there. So that's why India is having diverse and difficult terrain. So for this, an effective border management is very much required. Next, open and porous borders. Now, India have open border agreement because of the cultural and historical reasons, and such as with Nepal, Bhutan. and Myanmar. Now, recently it is being said that we need to fence the border with Myanmar, right? Now, countries like this, we have opened borders. Now, because of which, many people are infiltrating as illegal immigrants, terrorists, and things, militants like that. Now, all this also leads to currency trafficking, right? Now, fake currencies, drug trafficking, arms trafficking, human trafficking, and all these are happening in the border areas because of this. No, illegal cross-border trade is happening. Now people are, on the guise of the cultural trade and all these things stuff, terrorists is also infiltrating into the main India's region. And not only that, not only this border, because in India we need to focus on the border of coastal borders also, because you know that in 2008 terrorist attack was happened. It is because of the infiltration through border areas, coastal areas. No, hence border as such we have to manage very much integrated manner. To prevent like issues like this, and also we need to use of technology also, because perpetrators and militants are using technology such as drones, digital technologies, and things like that. Hence, we need to build the capacity of our agencies also for this. Now, what are the initiatives taken for the proper border management? Right now, it is means that we have taken comprehensive integrated border management. Now, why it is called integrated? Because we are integrating the manpower, technologies such as sensors, networks, intelligence gathering, command control solutions to improve the situational awareness and facilitate quick response. Now, another important measure we have taken is integrated checkpost. Now, what does it mean? Why it is called integrated checkpost? Because in this house, all the regulatory agencies are integrated at one place, especially regarding border guarding forces, custom officials, immigration officials, and other state-of-the-art technology such as scanning detection devices, foreign exchange bureau, because you know that fake currency is being illegally, trafficked, and passenger facilitation area, cargo area, things like that. Okay, to check that properly, the trade is not illegal. Right. Next important thing is we have taken the border area development program. This is to meet the special developmental needs of the people living in the international border areas. It involves developing basic infrastructure such as health, education, water resources, financial inclusion, skill development, all these things. Now, under this border area development program, we have village defense committee also. Now, what this village defense committee will do, they are providing basic skill and they will be incentivized, for reporting the activities such as illegal activities, infiltration activities, and they also been trying to the skills that are required for employment. Right. Another important thing is vibrant village program. Now, this is what mentioned in this article also. Right. This is part of the broader area strategy in which to change the narrative of the people, especially regarding the mainstream government and towards the mainstream society, by developing their capacity and human resources and things like that. And next, we have taken initiatives like a border infrastructure and management scheme. Now, this involves a lot of creating fences, border roads, floodlights, border outposts, helipads, and food tracks and things like that. Okay. And now, other important infrastructure things we have done is Bharatmala Pariyojana, in which we are connecting border roads to the mainstream roads, and not only that, we have constructing a lot of tunnels, for quick movement of the people, arms and equipment and things like that. And beyond these things, we are also conducting bilateral military exercises also sometimes, such as with countries like Bangladesh, Pakistan, and things like that. Okay. Now these are the things or keywords that you should keep in mind, so that based on that you can elaborate your answers in the mains examination. Now this is how you have to maintain your short notes for the mains examination, right? Just keep in mind these programs like Vibrant Villages program. This article data mentioned that there is around 260 drones were gunned down recently in 2024 itself. These type of data you have to mention in the mains examination, that adds value to your answer. Okay. Now coming to the next article. Now this article is saying that there is a need of gamifying the India's skilling initiatives. Now, what is the context of the news? The context of the news is that there in India there is a problem of unemployment, right? For that, government has taken initiatives like Skill India program, National Skill Development program, and all these things, right? But still, even after taking initiatives like that, periodic labor force survey report highlighted that in India overall, youth, especially in the age group of 15 to 29, it is found that only 21% of them have vocational training or technical training, whether it is formal or informal, right? Now, under this, it is being said that only 4.4% of the people have taken the formal training, technical training. This is, and not only that. Now, the chief economic advisor Anant Nageswaran, he also mentioned that Only 51% of the graduates in India are employable in nature. This indicates that there is a skill gap or skill mismatch that is happening between the needs of the industry and what's the skill that is there with the students. And so we need to address this gap. That is what the author is saying. But that author is saying that for that we have taken certain initiatives like Skill India Initiative, Nation Skill Development Corporation, and online courses such as Swayam and all these things. But they are not sufficiently meeting the demands, especially because of the way they are providing the skilling initiatives. They are monotonous and they are not effectively meeting the demands of the industry. Hence, we need to gamify them. Now, what does this gamifying means? So, before going to the analysis of how gamifying India's skilling initiatives, first of all, we will trace this to syllabus paper. Now, if you see the previous year question of JS paper 2, there is a mentioning of education and human resources as a topic, as a part of social sector in the syllabus point of JS paper 2. Now, it is clearly mentioned. And previously, year after year, questions are asking regarding skilling, right? Now, if you see this question of JS paper 2, skill development programs are succeeding in increasing human resources supply to various sectors. Now, in this context, the statement analyzes the linkages between the education, skill, and employment. Okay, skill and employment education, these are recurring themes. Now we just understand that about gamifying India skilling initiatives. Tomorrow if any questions comes like this, you can then use this suggestion of gamifying India skilling initiatives in your answer. Okay, now this is how you have to use in the examination. See, gamifying means that we need to create online courses in such a way that they are very much interactive in nature, so that the people who are being trained are thinking like this is a game. This creates a gamified and simulation based learning activities and training module, so that whatever they are learning, they treat it as a game and play it with very actively, so that they will learn, right? This creates a hands-on experience in a controlled environment. Now they create hands-on experience. Now they think that they are really doing something, right? He also suggests that there is a need of creating rewards and recognition through points and badges while giving the training and all such things. Now this creates encouragement, and not only that, by creating a gamified environment, they feel like they are feeling a game only. That's so that they will make the mistakes and learn from them without bothering that they have done something wrong, right? Now this also give instant feedback to help trainees and understand their progress and areas for improvement, right? So that they can understand the complex systems and develop critical thinking, problem solving, and things like that, because they're thinking it's like a game. No, by providing leaderboards and challenges, this create motivation and sense of curiosity and sense of competition among the individuals, right? Now this helps them for to retain the knowledge for a longer time, especially the skills, and they also get satisfaction that they are applying this knowledge in the real time, right? Now this also helps in really assessing the trainees' decision making abilities, because it does not affect in real time. Any economic loss will be there, no economic loss. By creating clear goals and milestones in gamified learning activities and things like that, the trainees are stay focused in nature. They are very helpful in developing decision making abilities. Now another important thing this mentioned in this article is also really helpful in while hiring also. It is easily used can be to assess the talent of the individual. Even the individual himself can assess his status or level of talent, so that he can be improved based on his mistakes. And there is no apprehension about social esteem, because this is a gamified thing, and because of the leaderboards no one is to question. Hence people, if they done any mistake, they will learn again based on the feedback that they have given. Hence we need to create things like this regarding the skill training program. Skill training program should not be monotonous, or skill training program should not be another schooling programs. Now that is what mentioned in this article. Now these type of schooling programs or skilling programs are taking been in the Singapore and Germany. These are the case studies you can mention in your answer. Now, in India, there are skilling initiatives like Swayam and Skill India Digital Hub, but they are not providing initiatives like this scheme. Now, this author is saying that we need to transition this Skill India Digital Hub and Swayam programs into a gamified manner. Now, why it is been said that there is a lot of demand for this? Because this article mentioned that around 4,000 courses and 40 million participants are there in the Swayam program since its inception. With reference to the Skill India Digital Hub, it has been said that around 750 courses are providing and 7 lakh students are enrolled. Now, this indicates that there is a lot of demand regarding gamifying Skill India initiatives. Hence, we need to provide skills in an interactive manner, so that the skills are realized by the people. Now, by gamifying the platforms at the online level, so that we can ensure that students are working on the real time projects, or the projects that are really working or using in the companies or industries. Now, this gives hands on experience, right? So they are not just providing the skilling, but also hands-on experience. This creates a lot of confidence among the trainees also and things like that. Now, these are the mentioned in this article, right? Now, these are the things you can use in your answer, like gamifying skilling initiatives, simulation-based learning and training programs, and things like that. Okay, and you can use these examples of Singapore and Japan as a case study. Swayam and Skill Leader Digital Hub as an examples of skill development programs in GS paper 2 in the topic of like measures taken by the India. Okay, in this way, how to use. Now we will move to the next article. Now, this article is saying that the issue of India's economic growth versus emissions. Now, author is saying that economic survey of 2023 and 2024 claiming that India has decoupled its economic growth from greenhouse gas emissions. Now, the author is analyzing that how far this claim is correct, whether India really decoupled its economic growth with greenhouse gases emissions. Now, the author is saying that why economic survey is claimed because India's GDP growth rate, that is compounded annual growth rate, is of around 7%, while emissions are rose at a compounded annual growth rate of 4%. Now, this annual growth rate of GDP is more than the emissions. Hence, the economic survey is claiming that India's economic growth is decoupled with the greenhouse gas emissions. Now, this is what said. Now, author is saying that whether really the claim is true or not. Now, this is what the author is saying. Now, first of all, before going to further, the author said that first of all, what is meant by decoupling? See, decoupling means there can be two ways. That is what mentioned in this article. First one is absolute. That means that with the growing economic growth, there is reduction in greenhouse gases. Now, this is what absolute decoupling. Now, another thing mentioned in this article is the relative decoupling of economic growth and greenhouse gas emissions. What is meant by relative decoupling? That means the rate of economic growth is higher than the rate of emission. That means emissions are inevitable, but till the rate of emissions is lesser than the rate of economic growth. That is what mentioned about the relative decoupling. Now, author mentioned that India is not absolute decoupling, rather India is in the phase of relative decoupling. Now, one important thing mentioned in this article was India in the near phase also will not see an absolute decoupling because India not at all reached its peak emissions, right? The per capita emissions in India is very less compared to the developed or European economies. Hence, India not at all reached its peak capacity of emissions. Right? Hence, there is a lot of time. So, but still, whatever it is doing is commendable because whether it is absolute or relative, because presently, as for this author, they are saying that India is in the relative decoupling of economic growth and greenhouse gas emission. Now, India is a rapidly growing economy. Now, emissions are inevitable. That is what mentioned in this article. So, hence, India is not at all reached its peak emission capacity. Still, we have a lot of time. So, for that, it is impossible to reach absolute decoupling in the near years. That is what this author is saying. But still, India need to pursue its climate policies in the way that is doing in the present way, that is promoting renewable energy, afforestation, and things like that, so that we will reach the international standards or international commitments such as NDCs and Paris goals and things like that. Now, this is what the author is mentioned. Okay, now you can use these words like decoupling of economic growth and greenhouse gas emissions, rapid economic growth or compounded annual growth rate of economy at 7% and greenhouse gas emissions at 4%. You know, as a words on data in the GS paper 3, especially in the topics of climate change, economic, biodiversity, environment, things like that. Because India is in the process of sustainable development. Now, this is what one of the goal. Right? In GS paper 3, often questions are linking both economy, ecology, and sustainable development, things like that. You can use this data. Okay, now we will move to the next article. Now, this article is saying that Confederation of Indian Industry urges the government to stick to the fiscal deficit target. Now, before understanding further, you have to know what is meant with fiscal deficit and why it is important from the examination perspective. Now, fiscal deficit, in India, there is a policy called monetary policy and fiscal policy, right? Now, monetary policy is about controlling the inflation. That is about agreement between the RBI and government regarding controlling inflation with monetary policy committee. Fiscal policy is regarding the taxation, right? So that's what the difference mainly. So money supply, it controls the money supply and things like that. Now, fiscal deficit is nothing but the gap between the total expenditure and total revenue of the government minus borrowings. Why minus borrowings? It's because fiscal indicates that it is yearly, measurement, right? Now, borrowings are accumulated over the years. That's why we don't consider borrowings. Fiscal deficit is talking about the excess of expenditure that is government is doing beyond its revenue per year. That is what the fiscal deficit. Now, where this fiscal deficit is taken, because for example, let's say in here there is a expenditure of 10 rupees and there is a revenue of 8 rupees. That means the 2 rupees is deficit. Now, where this deficit is taken for expenditure, now this is through borrowing. Now, borrowing can be anyways. For example, internal borrowing, external borrowing. Internal borrowing, again, it can be market borrowing. That is through bonds. That is government issues, government securities, and many people are there to buy. Now, in this way, government borrows. Now, this article is saying that now, not in this article, we have acts like FRBM, which is a legal regulation that we need to ensure that this deficit should be very much minimal. This is for the fiscal discipline and financial health of the government. Right now, it is being said that as per the FRBM Act, we need to maintain the 3% of GDP as a fiscal deficit. Now, this is ideal in nature because for development, we need a lot of money supply in the economy, right? Especially to create the credit and also welfare schemes and things like that. Because government need money for the welfare expenditure and creation of infrastructure and things like that. So certain amount of inflation, certain amount of money supply is very much important for a growing economy that is healthy in nature. Now that is also mentioned in this article that's why we need to maintain this fiscal target of 4.9% by 2024-2025, 4.5 by 2025 and 2026. Now see, this is a healthy level of fiscal deficit. That is what mentioned in this article. Now this article is relevant if you see previous year question. Mains question: what are the reasons for introduction of FRBM Act 2003? Discuss critically its silent features and their effectiveness. Now, in prelims also it was asked that consider the following statements. Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Review Committee report has recommended a debt to GDP ratio of 60% for the general government debt by 2023, comprising 40% for the central government and 20% for the state government. Now, this statement is the right statement. Now, second statement is saying that central government has domestic liabilities of 21% of GDP. This is wrong statement as compared to the 49% of the GDP of state governments. Now, this is data is exchanged in nature. Now, this statement is a wrong statement. Okay. Now, third statement is saying that as per the Constitution of India, it is mandatory for a state to take a central government's consent for raising any loan if the farmer owes any outstanding liabilities to the latter. Now, this is a statement correct because this is as per the Article 293. Now, this Article 293 is often in the news also. Okay. Now, the answer is 1 and 3. Now, from the examination perspective, we understand certain things, especially from the mains perspective, about the positive aspects of the fiscal deficit, negative aspects of the fiscal deficit, and how to control fiscal deficit. Okay. Now, from the examination perspective, we have a target of limiting the fiscal deficit to 3% of the GDP. Okay. Now, another important target is by the financial year of 2024 and 2025, we have a target that we need to reach general government debt of 60%. Now, presently, it has been said that we have around 80% of the GDP as a public debt. That is total debt of both central and state governments, right? Now we have to reduce that. Presently, central government has nearly 58% of the GDP. We need to reduce that to 40%. Now we have around 30% of the total states, public as a public debt. Now that we need to reduce to 60%. By total, we need to reach 60% as a general public debt. Now that is what the target, given by the FRBM review committee. Okay. Now from the examination perspective, UPSC asking that special analytical questions regarding conceptual of economy. Now it is being said, what is the effect of fiscal deficit, or what are the likely actions that are taken to reduce the fiscal deficit? What are the likely actions that are not taken regarding the fiscal deficit consolidation and things like that? Okay, in the prelims examination. So for that, you have to remember that, as I said before, certain level of fiscal deficit is very much healthy. Now that's what saying. Positive aspects of fiscal deficit means, it increases the government expenditure, so that it will address the needs of the welfare and infrastructure, financing of the public investments such as infrastructure schemes, central government schemes, and things like that. By increasing the expenditure of the government, it encourages the investors also that by thinking that there is a proper, investment ecosystem. Now it addresses the issues of welfare measures. Now that private individual has accumulated a lot of wealth. It is the government that have to take the responsibility of these vulnerable sections and things like that, and employment creation. Now, all these, for example, employment creation in the sense that it is about, for example, it can be engineering also, right? Engineering also. And welfare measures means it can be PDS. Okay? And all these things stuff. Now, another infrastructure schemes, it can be like, highway building programs and things like that. Bharat Mala, Sagar Mala, dedicated freight corridors and industrial corridors and things like that. All these are the required. These are the positive aspects of, fiscal deficit. Now, this is called as using healthy fiscal deficit. Now, negative aspects of fiscal deficit is inflation pressure. For example, because of the fiscal deficit, because of the increasing government borrowing increasing government borrowing is nothing but increasing supply into the market. Now, this creates inflationary pressure in the market. Now, this increases the debt burden because increasing the fiscal deficit over the time will increase the public debt also. Right? Another important negative aspect is crowding out effect. What is this crowding out effect? See, if there is increasing demand of money from the government, that is, government is borrowing from the market. That means people are very much interested to give money to the government because giving loans to the credit to the government is safe by taking the government securities. Now, this lead to a lot of demand for government securities, but private players who need money for investment in the companies and things like that, they won't be getting money. For to get money for them, the creditors will ask a higher interest rate. Now this lead to less investment in the economy and crowding out the private investment. That means private players will not interested in nature, right? Everyone is will investing in the government securities and things like that, but not corporate bonds. Now this is about the effect. It happens credit rating of the government also. What does it mean credit rating? Now many of the times, foreign direct investments and things like that, we'll see the credit rating of the countries, that how it has the capacity to repay back, and political stability and things like that. Now when there is higher fiscal deficit and things like that, there are less chances of FBA. This is what the saying, but often this is contradictory also, because in India, even though there is a less credit rating at some of the times, foreign direct investment is always in higher terms in nature. Now we are having good foreign direct investment. Now in this news paper itself, today it is mentioned that we have reached around $1 trillion of FDI in the last 2000 to 2024. Now this indicating that India is the most favored investment destination and things like that. Okay. Now another important negative aspect is the increasing spending of fiscal deficit on the revenue expenditure is a negative aspect. It is not good for economy because it reduces the capital expenditure capability. Now these are the things you have to remember. You have to understand, especially both from mains and prelims perspective, right? Now there are certain measures that to address the issues of fiscal deficit, we need to take the fiscal consolidation, right? We need to rationalize the expenditure. What is meant by rationalizing expenditure? There are certain inefficient expenditure that often, is spent because of the political populism, such as direct benefit transfers and giving money to the voters in the form of, like, for example, recently 1500 is being created to the voters and things like that. And there are certain redundant schemes also. Still, they are being allocated for certain schemes because of political populism and things like that. Okay. For this, we need fiscal consolidation, enhancing the revenue mobilization by diversifying the revenue sources. Okay. For this, proper identifying and detecting the taxing sources are very important. And this author also mentioned that there is a need of long-term structural reforms so that the revenue sources are very strong for the economy. Now, these are the things that are mentioned in this article. At least these are the things you have to remember and understand from the fiscal deficit perspective. Okay, remember that one thing. Earlier, there is targets given under the FRBM Act regarding the control of effective revenue deficit and revenue deficit. Now, there is no target that is given for revenue deficit and effective revenue deficit. Okay, now the target is mainly for the fiscal deficit and the public debt. Okay, given under the FRBM Act. Okay, remember, from this perspective, fiscal deficit means total expenditure minus total revenue. Okay, excluding the borrowings. Okay, now these are the things you have to remember from the prelims and mains perspective. Now that's all for today. Thank you. Have a nice day.